There is a candle burning somewhere just out of sight, and by its light you can make out a room, a bed, heavy curtains, and a woman lying across the bed asleep. At first that is all it is. A quiet, private scene, the kind you are not supposed to see. And then your eye adjusts the way it does in a dark room and you realize she is not alone. Something is sitting on her chest. It is small. It is heavy. It is patient in the way a thing looks when it has been somewhere a long time and has no intention of leaving. Its body is hunched and ape-like, its weight settled fully onto her. And yet what unsettles you first is not the creature at all. It is where it is looking. It is not watching her. It has turned its head outward past the edge of the canvas and it is looking directly at us. As though we have walked into a room we were never meant to enter. As though it knew somehow that one day we would be standing here. For more than 200 years people have looked at this painting and called it a nightmare. And they are right. But the longer you stay with it, the more you begin to feel that the worst thing in the room is not the demon and not the dream. It is the quiet possibility that the creature on her chest was put there by a man who knew exactly what it felt like to be one. Look at her before you look at anything else. Her arms have fallen open, loose and undefended, the way a body lets go only in the deepest sleep or in death. Her head hangs back over the edge of the bed, her throat bare and pale in the candlelight, her spine arched in a curve that could be rest or surrender or something that has already stopped being either. There is no struggle left in her. Whatever is happening to a body that can no longer answer for itself. Her mind may be awake somewhere far underneath calling out, but nothing reaches the surface. She is present for the terror and powerless inside it at the same time. Anyone who has ever woken in the dark and found they could not move knows the shape of this feeling. The weight on the chest that should not be there. The certainty that something is in the room. The body locked shut while the mind stands at the door and pounds and no sound comes out and no limb obeys. The painting reaches for that exact sensation and it finds it. Her body has surrendered long before her voice could rise to stop it. And there is a question the painting refuses to answer. Is she asleep or is she dead? The pose works as both and Fuseli leaves you suspended in that uncertainty. The man who made this understood that feeling far better than most. His name was Henry Fuseli. He was born Johann Heinrich Fuseli in Zurich in 1741, and he built his life and his reputation in Britain. He was not a painter of gentle landscapes or flattering portraits. From the beginning, his imagination pulled toward the darker rooms of the mind, toward dreams, toward terror, toward literature soaked in madness, longing, and the supernatural. He was drawn again and again to that strange threshold the Romantics called the sublime, where beauty and dread stop being opposites and become the same thing. What fascinated him most was the precise moment when reason loosens its grip and something older steps forward to take its place. He wanted his figures at the edge, asleep, possessed, dreaming, caught in the instant when the civilized self falls away and something ungovernable rises up underneath. His canvases feel less like pictures and more like small stages lit from within, where the unconscious is allowed to perform in front of an audience that cannot quite believe what it is seeing. And in 1781 he set the stage for the one scene that would outlast everything else he ever made. To understand what he was truly doing, you first have to understand where this nightmare came from. Not the painting, the word itself. Long before this canvas existed, people across Northern Europe believed that bad dreams were not simply events inside the mind. They believed they were visitations, a spirit. In the old folklore it was called a mare, or a mara, a creature said to come in the night and settle on the chest of a sleeping person, pressing down until the breath grew thin and the body could not move. You went to sleep, and in the smallest hours you woke into a body that would not obey you, with a crushing weight on your chest and the unmistakable sense that you were not alone. In a world without a name for sleep paralysis, the only honest thing to call it was a demon. The word we still use today, nightmare, carries that ancient belief quietly inside it. A mare in the night, and in the darker versions of these tales, the spirit that came to a sleeping woman came not only to suffocate her but to possess her. Fuseli took that old half-remembered fear and gave it a body. He was not painting what she sees behind her closed eyes. He was painting what the nightmare feels like from the inside, where there is no image at all and only the helplessness and the unbearable nearness of something that should not be there. And then, almost as if he could not resist, he hid the word itself inside the painting. Because there is a second figure in this room, one that most people glance past on their way to the demon. At the back of the scene, pushing its head through a parting in the heavy curtains, is a horse. Its eyes are wide and pale and utterly blank, with no center, no focus, nothing behind them at all. It does not look at the woman. It does not look at the creature on her chest. It simply emerges from the dark and stares. Some have read it as a grim pun, the literal nightmare standing in the night. But it does something far stranger than wordplay. The demon makes the painting frightening. The horse makes it wrong. The demon belongs to the logic of the scene, however terrible. The horse belongs to nothing. It tells you that the ordinary laws have been suspended and that you are no longer in a bedroom but inside the dream itself. And those blank eyes look past her toward us, as though the dream has turned its head and noticed you. Reportedly, a preliminary sketch contained no horse at all, which means the horse was a decision. He chose to let that long, pale head push through the curtain and break the world. That is where the familiar story usually ends, but underneath it lies another layer entirely. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it, because a few years before he ever painted a demon crouched on a sleeping woman, Henry Fuseli fell in love. Her name was Anna Landolt. She was the niece of one of his closest friends, a young woman in Zurich, and what Fuseli felt for her was not a quiet affection. It was something closer to a fever. He wrote about her in letters with a heat that still startles the people who read them today, describing how he imagined fusing himself to her so completely that no other man could ever come near. He spoke of her not as someone he hoped to win, but as someone he believed he already owned. She was his, he wrote. He would have her. There is something in those letters that goes beyond longing. Longing waits. What he described was closer to possession. A love that had already decided the outcome and would not bend to anything as small as her own will. But Anna Landolt was never his to have. His hopes of marrying her came to nothing, and while he was away from Zurich, she married another man. The woman he had claimed so absolutely in the privacy of his own mind simply went on to live a life that had no room for him in it. And this is where the painting stops being folklore and becomes something far more personal. Many scholars have looked at this canvas and seen Anna inside it. One reading, put forward by the art historian H.W. Jansen and echoed by others since, suggests that the sleeping woman is Anna herself, and that the demon crouched upon her is not a spirit from any legend at all. It is Fuseli. It is an interpretation, not a proven fact. But if it is true, then everything in the painting quietly rearranges itself in front of you. Look again at what the demon is doing. It sits on the body of a woman who cannot resist, who is possessed entirely without ever once being loved in return. It is close to her in the way he could only ever be in his imagination, and it looks outward toward us, with something that is not quite triumph and not quite shame, the expression of a thing that knows it has been caught. This may be the picture of a man painting his own desire and recognizing with a kind of horror what that desire had become when it was refused. Because that is the cruelty hidden inside this image. Longing is not monstrous, but a wanting that will not accept the word no. A love that insists on possession does not stay human for very long. It curdles, It hardens into something that takes rather than asks, and a man honest enough or haunted enough to see that change happening inside himself might do exactly what Fuseli did. He might paint it and set it on the chest of the woman he lost, so that he would never again be able to look away from what he had nearly become. The painting may not show what she dreams at all. It may show what he could not escape. And just when you think the image has given up its last secret, there is one more. It is not on the front of the canvas, it is on the back. Turn to the wall hidden behind the night-mare, where no visitor to a gallery would ever think to look. There is a second painting, an unfinished portrait of a young woman, quiet and unguarded, painted with none of the menace of the scene on the other side. And that portrait is widely believed to be Anna Landolt. Sit with what that means. On one side of the canvas, a woman lies crushed beneath a demon. On the other side, pressed against the dark, facing away from everyone, is her real face. On the front, what his desire made of her. On the back, who she truly was, and he kept them together inseparable, the tenderness and the monster sharing the same few millimeters of cloth. He turned his obsession into a masterpiece the whole world would come to know. And the woman herself he hid behind it, where she would stay unseen for 200 years. She is not only inside the night-mare, she is also concealed behind it. That is why this painting refuses to stay in the past. We have words now that Fuseli never had. We understand sleep paralysis, the body held motionless while the mind wakes in terror. But the deeper thing the painting understands has nothing to do with diagnosis. It is the recognition that the most frightening thing the mind can produce is not a monster sent from somewhere outside us. It is the part of ourselves we cannot govern, the desire that turns to shame, the tenderness that, when it is refused, reveals a darker shape underneath. Fuseli understood, long before anyone had the language for it, that the unconscious does not only send us strangers in the night. Sometimes it sends us back ourselves, wearing the face of the thing we are most afraid we already are. Not the fear of being haunted, the fear of being the haunting. So look at it one last time, knowing everything you know now. The woman who cannot wake, the blank-eyed horse watching from the dark, and the small, heavy creature on her chest, caught in the act of being seen, with the real face of the woman he loved hidden just behind it, turned forever toward the wall. Is this a painting of a nightmare? Or is it a confession that a man could only make in the one language no one would ever read aloud? Tell me in the comments which detail disturbed you most, the demon on her chest, the horse in the dark, or the woman hidden behind the canvas.